What you know about it? Yeah.
So baby, come to get you, boy. The 40 gala hit you, boy. The hollow tips are split you, boy. So baby, come to get you, boy.
Yeah, flow slow, eyes low, from the dro, push the blow, pimp the hoes, throw them bows, fancy cars, designer clothes, old coupe, nouveaux, big diamonds, white gold, you fucking with a psycho, I write what you like though, full clip, don't trip, blood crip, gangsta shit, west side, east side, riders ride, cowards die, cold world, keep the heat, with me when I'm in the street, cause when you starving where I'm from, niggas learn to kill and eat, ecstasy, crystal meth, marijuana, cocaine, man I got your drug of choice, here's a bundle of heroin, sniff a shoot, G-Unit boots, snorkels and thermos, my clientele is superior, when will you learn, yo? Backseat of the caddy truck, a Tahoe. Backseat of the Benz truck, a Expo. Backseat of the X5, a Range Rover.
G-Unit is one of the greatest and most influential rap groups of all time. Their greatness can't be stated enough, especially if you lived through their prime. Their influence is something that revolutionized the music industry, with artists still using their formula to this day. When I made my video breaking down Lil Wayne's mixtape run, people were in the comments and people even DM'd me on Instagram about making a video for G-Unit's mixtape run. A couple months later, and here we are. Before I start, I would like to say that I'll be focusing on the official G-Unit mixtapes, and I'm not gonna go super into detail about every single tape because there is like 50 mixtapes. We would be here all day. But the legend of G-Unit's mixtape run starts with 50 Cent before he was infamously shot. Before 2000, 50 Cent was a rising rapper with hopes of making it big in the music industry. His debut album was set to be released in 2000, but tragically, 50 Cent was shot in May of that year outside of his grandma's house. 50 ultimately got shot 9 times, with the bullets hitting various parts of his body. There are many rumors of why he got shot, but the main one is that it was over 50 Cent's song Ghetto Quran. 50 Cent name dropped the man who shot him on his song Mini Men from his debut album years later. The name being Daryl Hamo Bomb, who later on met his demise just weeks after he allegedly shot 50 Cent. Former drug lord Kenneth Supreme McGriff is rumored to be involved in 50's shooting as well, with him allegedly ordering the hit. Enough about that though, and after being shot, 50 Cent was unfortunately dropped from Columbia Records. He eventually recovered from his injuries, with the shooting having some lasting effects. The bullet that hit him in the jaw changed his speech and ultimately his rap style as well, with 50 rapping with more of a slur after the incident. Before the official formation of G-Unit, 50 Cent, Bang'em Smurf, Tony Yayo, and Lloyd Banks were a part of a group known as the 134 All-Stars. 50 Cent knew Tony Yayo and Lloyd Banks due to them not living that far from where he grew up. But after 50 Cent was shot, he recovered in the Pocono Mountains in Pennsylvania. After he got shot is when he decided to officially form the original core of G-Unit. 50 Cent's shooting ultimately caused more than just health problems and concerns for him. After being shot, 50 Cent was essentially blackballed in the music industry due to the controversy surrounding him getting shot and some other factors like his beef with Ja Rule. Being at odds with the industry, 50 Cent decided to take the independent underground route and released mixtapes to build up his buzz. In May of 2002, 50 Cent released his first mixtape, Guess Who's Back. G-Unit was first introduced on the song That's What's Up with Tony Yayo and Lloyd Banks.
Stop with me, dog. Only time you left your hood is on Monopoly boards. You grimiest birds sitting on the top of your Ford. You will die by the gun if you ain't dropping your sword.
According to Shaw Money XL, this tape was recorded in 18 days, with 50 Cent recording 2 songs a day. The 36 records were then cut down to 18 records. 50 was adamant about not leaving Shaw Money's place without a record deal. 50's work ethic was superb, but he also had a strategic plan for his mixtapes as well. Before 50 Cent, mixtapes were largely a thing that DJs did. DJs like DJ Clue, Funk Flex, DJ K Slay, DJ Screw, etc. A mixtape before 50 Cent was essentially an artist sending a DJ 16 bars or so for their tape. 50 Cent was really one of, if not the first rappers to make a full mixtape which eliminated demo tapes for artists. He transformed mixtapes into street albums essentially. In one of 50 Cent's books, he gives Nelly and Nas as an example, two artists who were hot around 2002 that had sought after music. He said that these artists would do anything possible to keep their music from getting bootlegged. If they did catch a bootlegger, then normally a beatdown ensued. 50 Cent had a different perspective and encouraged the bootlegging of his mixtapes because in the beginning he was struggling to get a deal and he needed to build a buzz. This is why 50 Cent made his mixtapes look very official, like an album. He hired a photographer to do the cover, hired a designer for packaging, and even put a fake barcode on the back of his tapes to make it look as official as possible. Then 50 had his people leak the mixtape to every possible bootlegger who would take it. His plan worked to perfection and he ultimately changed the mixtape game forever. Before getting more into the video though, I would quickly like to plug that I made a TikTok that you guys should definitely go follow. I'm trying to get that popping, so definitely go out and support that. And if you haven't already done it yet, go follow my Instagram too. That would be greatly appreciated. You guys can always reach out and just show me some love. It's all good. Leave down in the comments some of your favorite G-Unit mixtapes and songs on those tapes. But back to the story. The very next month after Guess Who's Back in June of 2002 came the release of G-Unit's first mixtape, 50 Cent is the Future. The tape was recorded at Sha Money XL's house, who was 50 Cent's manager at the time. 50 Cent is the Future was also hosted by DJ Who Kid, Sha Money XL's cousin, who went on to be a part of G-Unit Records.
Coming up, I ain't had much, I wanted a lot. I had paper for a hoopty, but I wanted to drop. So you know, I had to make something out of nothing. Like turn an empty spot into a crack spot.
I definitely want to take some time out and give some shine to DJ Who Kid. He was very integral to G-Unit's mixtape run. I always loved his drops on the G-Unit mixtapes, and who can't love his tags on the songs? But just weeks after the release of 50 Cent is the Future, it was reported in late June of 2002 that 50 Cent had signed a deal with Eminem and Dr. Dre via their Shady Aftermath label. The deal was for $1 million, and eventually as part of the deal, 50 got his own label which became G-Unit Records. How this deal came about was through 50's attorney having a relationship with Paul Rosenberg, who is Eminem's longtime manager. 50's attorney gave a copy of his mixtape Guess Who's Back to Paul Rosenberg, who then let Eminem hear it. Eminem was impressed by the mixtape, and this eventually led to 50 Cent getting his deal. The first mixtape that 50 and G-Unit released after this deal was No Mercy, No Fear. This is widely regarded as not only one of the best G-Unit mixtapes, but one of the greatest mixtapes of all time. A lot of bangers on this tape. Backseat, Banks Victory, Part 2, etc. But my favorite has to be the track Who Kid.
I got an M1 in my hand, I'm finna start killing shit. I'm not the nation's new Malcolm X, but I'm militant. But I'm supposed to be scared, cause you got a big chest. My 4/5 will lift you in your motherfucking bench press.
This mixtape is also the introduction of 50's song Wanksta, which became a major hit. After appearing on No Mercy, No Fear, the song later appeared on the soundtrack for Eminem's 2002 movie 8 Mile. Then it eventually became a bonus track on 50's debut album Get Rich or Die Tryin'. Wanksta peaked at number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100. Continuing on with G-Unit's crazy 2002 mixtape run, in November of that year, they released the mixtape God's Plan. This is my personal favorite G-Unit mixtape. Songs like You're Not Ready, Minds Playing Tricks, Catch Me in the Hood, etc. Short Stay is definitely one of the toughest songs on the mixtape.
Mommy, we can creep through the ghetto with your feet in stilettos. Hit the club and party as long as you sneak in the metal. Or we can head to the house, from the house is the floor, from the floor to the couch, from the couch to the door.
G-Unit, along with 50 Cent, capped off their insane mixtape run in 2002 with the release of Automatic Gunfire. 50 Cent spoke about this mixtape during his appearance on The Breakfast Club in 2023. He said that the creation of this tape came about when Ja Rule mentioned Eminem's daughter Haley in a song. Eminem was very upset by this, so 50 Cent went into the booth and recorded Automatic Gunfire in a week. The skits on this mixtape are hilarious, especially the Ja Rule duet skits. Those be cracking me up.
I say, yeah, they believe.
Unfortunately, later on in December of 2002, Tony Yayo, 50 Cent, Lloyd Banks, and 2 other associates were arrested on weapons possession charges. Unlike the others, Tony Yayo could not skate out of these charges due to having outstanding warrants. Before this arrest, Tony Yayo infamously went on the run with G-Unit. He was going overseas and doing shows all over while ducking the authorities. With this arrest, Tony Yayo would be gone for a year, leaving him to miss all of 2003. This means that he was locked up when 50 Cent dropped his monstrous debut album, Get Rich or Die Tryin', in February of 2003. This album topped the Billboard 200 charts, selling over 872,000 copies in its first week. 50 Cent hit the scene like no other, and it was time to put G-Unit on. Around the release of Get Rich or Die Tryin', G-Unit released the mixtape Bulletproof G-Unit Part 5. This mixtape was hosted by comedian Dave Chappelle and consisted of mostly songs from 50's debut album. The very next month, in March of 2003, came the release of the first G-Unit radio mixtape, Smokin' Day 2. This mixtape is not only significant because it's the first G-Unit radio mixtape, but it's the first time Young Buck appeared on the G-Unit mixtape as an official member.
Get your ass suplex telling me to go down. I'm a PIMP, bitch, I bet you know now.
The group met Young Buck while on tour promoting G-Unit's 2002 mixtapes. They met Buck when he was down with Juvenile's UTP Records. Before appearing on G-Unit Radio 1, he actually appeared on the song G-Unit UTP on the No Mercy No Fear mixtape back in 2002 when he was down with UTP. According to Tony Yayo, Young Buck was only added to the group because they needed another member while he was locked up. Even if this is true, Young Buck was still a great addition and he differed from the rest of the group with his style. It also added southern representation with everybody else being from the East Coast. But G-Unit kept the streets flooded in June of 2003 with the release of International Ballers, G-Unit Radio Part 2, and taking it to the streets, G-Unit Radio Part 3 in August of that year. Taking It to the Streets was hosted by a then rookie LeBron James, who went on to become one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Besides being hosted by LeBron, this mixtape is notable for a few other things. On Sleep Remix, 50 Cent went at Bang'em Smurf and ignited their feud when 50 said that he was like a god to him. Bang'em Smurf very much felt a type of way about this line and replied with his diss song, What's Beef? The tape also included the remix to the song PIMP from 50's debut album, with the remixed version having Snoop Dogg included as a feature. This was the last G-Unit mixtape to release before their debut album, Beg for Mercy, in November of 2003. This album peaked at number 3 on the Billboard 200, selling 377,000 copies in its first week. Not that long after their debut album came the release of No Peace Talks, G-Unit Radio Part 4. The title of this mixtape is most likely in reference to 50 Cent's beef with Ja Rule. Throughout the course of this mixtape, a 2003 interview between Ja Rule and Farrakhan, the leader of the Nation of Islam, is played. 50 Cent made it very clear that there would be no peace talks between him and Ja Rule.
I'm super fly, run on middle of this rap shit. When that drama poppin', you get shot, let's see you bounce back, bitch. So you come around this bitch front, I'ma have to chase you out of here.
This ultimately was the last G-Unit mixtape of 2003. At the top of 2004, Tony Yayo got released on parole, but after one day of being free, he was locked up again. This time, it was due to violating the terms of his probation because of a forged passport. He would not come out until a couple months later in May. While he was gone though, G-Unit dropped All Eyes on Us, G-Unit Radio Part 5 in January of 2004. This is the first tape that released when West Coast rapper The Game became a member of G-Unit. The Game said that his addition to the group was the idea of Jimmy Iovine, who is one of the co-founders of Interscope Records. He felt that the group lacked a West Coast presence, and with The Game already being signed to Aftermath Records, it only made sense to add him to the group. The Game appeared on mixtapes before this, with him notably appearing on Taking It to the Streets G-Unit Radio Part 3 on the song So Hard. On All Eyes on Us, there's a funny skit referencing a real-life altercation between Freestyle Star and 50 Cent. The altercation between them happened during rehearsals for the 2003 Vibe Magazine Awards. The Gomez Bros interlude on this tape hilariously reenacts the incident.
Yo son, Onyx kid, hey yo son, we put you on son. G-Unit.
When reached for comment, Fredo responded with,
That wasn't me, kid.
"We'll have more as the story develops."
After this mixtape, G-Unit would not drop another tape until April of 2004 with the release of Motion Picture Stuff G-Unit Radio Part 6. This tape was hosted by one of the greatest boxers of all time, Floyd Mayweather, who once had a very close relationship with 50 Cent. The song These Dudes Ain't Hood and the Gomez skits about Fredo Star and Michael Jackson on this tape are hilarious. The next month in May, G-Unit released King of New York G-Unit Radio Part 7. The song Southside with 50 Cent rapping over Twista's Overnight Celebrity beat is the real highlight of the tape for me. The Fifth Element G-Unit Radio Part 8 released a couple months later in July. This was a tape centered around The Game and was hosted by Steve-O of Jackass and Wild Boys fame. There's a couple notable tracks on the tape with The Game's song 200 Bars and Runnin'. This was a sequel to his track 100 Bars and Runnin', which appeared on his 2002 mixtape You Know What It Is Volume 1. 200 Bars and Runnin' is a diss track aimed at Joe Budden, but there would be another diss track of sorts on this mixtape as well, with the inclusion of the original version of Young Buck's song Stomp, which eventually appeared on Young Buck's 2004 album Straight Outta Cashville. The version on the album only features The Game and Ludacris, while the original includes T.I. Ludacris and T.I. both took shots at each other on the song, which adds to the rare instances of rappers dissing one another on the same song. The last G-Unit mixtape to release in 2004 was Grand Theft Auto G-Unit City G-Unit Radio Part 9. This is a Young Buck centered tape, with the highlight of the tape being the song Hold You Down.
You're now rocking with the livest. Beams on the llamas, New York City's finest. Drug dealer train, red jag, rim shining. 4 shooters riding in the trucks right behind us.
At the top of 2005, G-Unit released 2050 Before the Massacre G-Unit Radio Part 10. The title of this mixtape is in reference to the at the time upcoming release of 50's sophomore album The Massacre, which released 2 months later in March. On the 2050 Before the Massacre mixtape, 50 Cent actually leaked the song Candy Shop, which ended up being a single for his album. Upon its official release, the song topped the Billboard Hot 100 for 9 weeks. At the time, 50 Cent was having problems with Interscope Records. In interviews, he said that he was being proactive while Interscope Records was being reactive. He really wanted his album to come out in February to match the aesthetic of the original title of his debut album, The St. Valentine's Day Massacre. However, Interscope Records did not want to drop in February because of The Game. In January of 2005, The Game dropped his debut album, The Documentary, which topped the Billboard 200, selling 586,000 units in its first week. Interscope Records did not want 50 Cent to drop in February in order for The Game's album to breathe due to how monstrous they knew that 50's sophomore album would be. 50 Cent did not care about this, and he wanted his album to come out in February, so he reacted by leaking his own records to get a response from the label and give the streets a sneak peek for his album. Well, in February of 2005, The Game was on the radio talking about not having beef with people like Nas, Jadakiss, and Fat Joe. This was a huge problem because 50 Cent had beef with all of these people, so if G-Unit is your crew, in theory, you're supposed to inherit those beefs. The game did not do this, and it already put fuel on the fire of an already existing flame between 50 Cent and the game. I will like to say that in this video, I am not going to go too in depth about the beef between the game and 50 Cent because that is not the title or the purpose of this video. This video is about G-Unit's mixtape run, and we will talk about the game when it comes to G-Unit dissing the game on their mixtapes. Back to 2050 before the massacre, and this mixtape houses the classic Murder Inc. diss track, I'm an Animal. Olivia also appears on the cover of a G-Unit mixtape for the first time, with her not that long before this becoming the first lady of G-Unit. She first appeared on the G-Unit mixtape All Eyes on Us back in 2004 on the intro and on the track You Can Have Me. The next mixtape that G-Unit released in 2005 was Yayo Raw and Uncut G-Unit Radio Part 11. This was a Tony Yayo tape that was hosted by Eminem and comedian Mike Epps. The song So Seductive is on here, which became Tony Yayo's lead single for his debut album that released later that year. So Seductive ended up peaking at number 48 on the Billboard Hot 100. The song NYC Where I'm From is another good song from the mixtape, but another popular song from Yayo Raw and Uncut is the diss track against Jadakiss and Fat Joe titled I Run New York.
Man, I run in the scope, just trying to annoy me. Nothing but another disgruntled employee. Been in the game 10 years and he still ain't rich. Even his mama upset that he still ain't shit. But he keep running his yap like I'ma take all that. One more word out his mouth, I push style shit back.
Olivia So Seductive, G-Unit Radio Part 12, released in July of 2005. As you can guess, this was a solo tape by Olivia. Probably the most significant thing to come from this mixtape was the Out of Control remix, which featured Mobb Deep, who would become a part of G-Unit. The track was officially released as a single in September of 2005, but it was first introduced in the summer because of this tape. The Out of Control remix peaked at number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100. Mobb Deep signed with G-Unit in the summer of this year after 50 Cent found out that the duo were free agents. So with the next mixtape, The Return of the Mixtape Millionaire, G-Unit Radio Part 13, 50 Cent not only introduced Mobb Deep to G-Unit, but he also introduced MOP as well. When both MOP and Mobb Deep were free agents, 50 Cent took a lot of interest in them, and they both eventually joined the label as we would know. Spider Loc also appears on the project as well, along with Mace or Murder Mace, which we'll get into in a bit. October of 2005 led to the release of 2 G-Unit mixtapes, the first one being Back to Business, G-Unit Radio Part 14. The most notable track on this mixtape is the song Hustler's Ambition, which appeared on the mixtape just a month before the Get Rich or Die Tryin' movie released, along with the soundtrack which the song is on. The next tape that released later on in October was Are You a Window Shopper? G-Unit Radio Part 15. This mixtape promoted the Get Rich or Die Tryin' movie, and songs like I Don't Know Officer, Talk to Me, and You a Shooter ended up on the movie soundtrack. I find the cover art for this project to be hilarious. The cover has Jadakiss working at Burger King and Fat Joe working at UPS. This is while Nas and Ja Rule work at Jiffy Lube. They window shop while 50 Cent is looking at buying cars. Of course, Window Shopper being a single from the movie soundtrack. The original version of the song is on the mixtape, with the soundtrack version being slightly different. The difference is that the original version has 50 Cent name drop Nas, Ja Rule, Jadakiss, and Fat Joe on the hook.
Y'all use a window shopper, mad as fuck when you see me ride by.
Starting out 2006, G-Unit dropped Crucified for the Hood, 10 Years of Hate, G-Unit Radio Part 16. This was a Mace solo tape. I somewhat recently did a video detailing Mace's career and his run with G-Unit. In that video, I detail how people started to look at Mace differently in 2005 due to him becoming an ordained minister after leaving the music business in the late 90s. Around 2005 is when Mace started to run around with G-Unit, and he brought back his Murder Mace persona from his early rap career. Fans felt like this contradicted Mace's new path in life. Although Mace ran around with G-Unit, he was never officially a part of the label due to his contractual obligations with Bad Boy Records. 50 Cent once spoke about his conversation with Diddy over Mace's contract. I was like, what you looking for that? He said $2 million. I'm like, Mace ain't worth $2 million with $2 million in his pocket. Are you crazy? This is right before we went on that G-Unit tour. The principle is more important. He was $1 million over what Depp was supposed to make. He could have made $1 million out of it, but he's saying $2 million. We could have did it for the million. So this is why Mace never officially joined the label due to Diddy being unwilling to let him go for less than $2 million. The very next month in February, Mobb Deep released their own G-Unit mixtape, Best in the Business, G-Unit Radio Part 17. Aside from the remix to Out of Control, the most notable track has to be the diss track against the game called Not Rich, Still Lying.
Didn't you say you woke up out the coma 2001? Well, your brother says you never were in a coma. Didn't you say you were in a gang? Well, your brother says you were never in a gang. Now you can get your records together and you can submit them to me. I mean, you can send the records that you have to me so I can open your album budget, your recording budget. You gotta send the music to the boss.
2006 must have been the year of solo G-Unit Radio mixtapes because the next tape to release was Rags to Riches G-Unit Radio Part 18. This was a Spider Loc tape. Within quick succession, the Freeway mixtape Rep Yo Click G-Unit Radio Part 19 released. Freeway was never on G-Unit, but he had a relationship with 50 Cent, who went on to executive produce his 2007 album Free at Last. In interviews, Freeway has said that his potential deal with G-Unit was very close to happening, but at the very last minute it fell apart. But after this, Mobb Deep released another mixtape not that long after their first G-Unit Radio mixtape with Best in the Business 2 G-Unit Radio Part 20. Songs like Pearly Gates and Put 'Em in Their Place appeared on their Blood Money album that released a month later. Hate It or Love It Verse 1 G-Unit Radio Part 21 released in July of that year, and as you can tell by the cover, this was a direct shot at the game with allegations of him being a former male stripper. 50 Cent showed no mercy to his ops on this mixtape. Ja Rule, The Game, Nas, and Fat Joe all caught bars. There's a couple notable tracks on this tape, with the Lloyd Banks song Hands Up being one of them. Shout out to all my Saints Row 2 homies. If you know, you know. Another track is Stop Crying, which is another popular diss track aimed at the game.
It's me and my P90 and two of them clips. Holla at me, my niggas put it in for the chips. They'll kill for the bricks, turn them into the whips with the shiny shoes. You know how they do. It's not just a job, it's a hobby too.
50 doubled back on his ops once again in September of 2006 with Hip Hop Is Dead Verse 2 G-Unit Radio Part 22. The title is in reference to what would be Nas's 8th album, Hip Hop Is Dead, which released at the very end of the year. In the hilarious intro of the mixtape, it's said that 50 Cent is the one who killed hip-hop because of his money-making ways, hooks, and catchy records. The intro is absolutely hilarious, and I must say, 50 Cent is a genius when it comes to the skits and dissing his rivals.
Rest in peace to Ja Rule. He got murdered. Rest in peace to the boy Jadakiss. I said Jadakiss. I said Jadakiss. Rest in peace to the boy Nas. Major look, they shooting. Rest in peace to the homie Factual. And rest in peace to the man Puff Daddy. Can you say it with me?
Diddy was another person that 50 Cent was going at on this mixtape. 50 has always poked fun at Diddy, but recently with everything going on with Diddy, he has turned the volume up to 100. It took 6 months until another G-Unit mixtape released, with the next one being a Tony Yayo solo tape entitled Finally Off Papers G-Unit Radio Part 23. This came out in March of 2007. It was hosted by Snoop from the hit HBO show The Wire. Young Buck also released another solo G-Unit mixtape this year with the Cleanup Man G-Unit Radio Part 24, which released the next month in April. This was another mixtape hosted by LeBron James. Unfortunately, as they say, all good things must come to an end, and that is exactly what happened with the next G-Unit mixtape. Sabrina's Baby Boy G-Unit Radio Part 25 released in October of 2007, Sabrina being the name of 50's mother that sadly passed away when he was a little boy. This time, comedian Chris Rock hosted the tape. Sabrina's Baby Boy houses tracks like I'll Still Kill, Man Down, and Curtis 187, which first appeared on 50's Curtis album that released a month before. Without a doubt, my favorite song from this tape has to be Coke Life.
Like, everybody can't be on top. Call me when it's time to cop. I got 99 bottles of beer on the wall and 99 grams left to flip, that's all.
As the G-Unit Radio series ended, another mixtape series started. The next year, in February of 2008, the mixtape Return of the Body Snatchers, This Is 50 Volume 1 released. This was followed up by Elephant in the Sand, This Is 50 Volume 2. A less than flattering picture of Fat Joe is on the cover art of the project, with 50 Cent still beefing with Joe at the time. Just a month later in April, 50 Cent officially kicked Young Buck off of G-Unit. There wasn't much gas left in the tank for the group anyway, with G-Unit releasing their last mixtape for years with Sincerely Yours, Southside, This Is 50 Volume 3. This released in June of 2008. The very next month, the group's second and last album, Terminate on Sight, came out, and it did not perform as well as their debut or receive the reviews that the first one got. After the release of their last album, G-Unit fell into disarray. There were already lingering problems between its members and ex-members for years, but these problems carried into the 2010s. There were a lot of reports of the group being broken up, but in 2014, a reunion occurred which led to the addition of a new member, Kid Kid, and 2 new EPs. These EPs are significant because of their connection to G-Unit's last official mixtape ever. The Lost Flash Drive released in August of 2016. This tape consisted of G-Unit leftovers from their 2004 EP, The Beauty of Independence, and their 2015 EP, The Beast is G-Unit. How this mixtape came about was through DJ Who Kid and Tony Yayo stumbling across a hard drive at the G-Unit offices back in 2016 that contained lost music and lost footage from the G-Unit radio series, and this is it for the official G-Unit mixtapes. It's been one hell of a ride, and I must say, G-Unit left quite the legacy from just their mixtapes.
I'm a big chaser, my black eye five, you know what it is. The moment you inspired, I handle my biz.
One thing that G-Unit fans can never say is that they were not fed during the group's prime. They were dropping mixtapes like every other month, quality and quantity. Those early G-Unit mixtapes though are some of the best mixtapes of all time, with those being tapes like God's Plan, 50 Cent is the Future, and No Mercy No Fear. The G-Unit radio series is also iconic and gave us not only some amazing songs, but some great moments as well. For the most part, from all the ones that I've heard, they were an entertaining listen, especially with the skits. 2002 to 2008 isn't a bad run, especially with how much ground the group covered in those years. Without a doubt though, 2002 was their best year as far as mixtapes. They really changed the game and revolutionized the business. I know last year, Jim Jones of Dipset was debating who started the mixtape thing, but whether 50 Cent and G-Unit started it or not, theirs had the most impact, especially at that time. I say this as a huge Dipset fan, but let me know in the comments who you would like to see next. I already know that Gucci Mane is going to be one of the top comments, but we'll see what you guys say. All in all, what do you guys think of G-Unit's mixtape run? Make sure to tell me in the comment section below. I love you guys with all my heart. Peace.